Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to wait for a couple of minutes to have others join us. They're coming in fast and furiously. Before we get started with the program, I thought I would review some Zoom tips. So if you could have your video camera on, if possible, it will be ideal for us to be able to see you. And you have viewing options, a gallery view and an individual view. Finding viewing options up in the right-hand corner of your Zoom screen is where they should be. And then during the program, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. You have options to use the reactions button to raise your hand. You can click on the hand icon, or you can leave a note in the chat if you would like. Closed captioning has been turned on so that you can read our remarks. And if you have technical difficulties, feel free to text Kristen Palma at 831-247-4759. Okay. I think I will wait for another minute. Before we begin. Okay, on behalf of the newly renamed UC Santa Cruz Legacy Circle, welcome to our annual recognition event. I'm Virginia Rivera, the Senior Director of Plan Giving. I want to thank the members who participated in last year's survey by endorsing the new name, which we hope better reflects the group of committed individuals like you who have had the foresight to provide for UC Santa Cruz students in their estate plans. Thank you for your support. We had hoped to see you all in person today. However, the coronavirus continues to impact our work and lives. First and foremost is your health and safety. Today's program will include remarks from UC Santa Cruz's first Rhodes Scholar, Garma Desai. She will be introduced by Professor Jody Green, who is the Associate Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning, and herself a Rhodes and Marshall Scholar. Their presentations will be followed by remarks from Leroy, Skip, and Nancy Fletcher. Nancy is one of Dean and Jane McHenry's daughters, and the Chancellor will then provide campus updates. I'd like to introduce our Vice Chancellor, Mark Davis, who should be in the audience, our two foundation trustees, Mary Doyle and Lauren Steck, and our newest member of the Plan Giving team, Cecilia Reyes. Cecilia is a seasoned fundraising professional with a demonstrated track record of success, including serving as the Executive Director of Gift Planning at UC Riverside from July 2005 to July 2011. She secured a complex $15.5 million planned gift of encumbered real estate that was part gift, part sale for the UC Riverside Medical School and programs. In addition to her earning her master's degree in business administration from Chapman University, Cecilia was awarded the highest permanent certification available for fundraisers. She became an advanced certified fundraising executive. She is also a certified specialist in plan giving, and her years of experience will enable UC Santa Cruz to grow our plan giving program. Nikki, if you can advance to introduce and welcome our fiscal year 21 members. There was one person who chose to be anonymous. The next group is Mark Daniel Alexander and Catherine Jean Campbell. Christina Cavazzo Bennett and Vincent Bennett, I believe they're on this call today. Audrey Robin Ellis, Tiffany Harmon, who's also joining us, Charlie Haas, Michael Hurst, Cassandra Janikos, Lorianne Johns, Mark Johnson, Catherine McHale, James Myers, and Joe Levesque. James and Joe should be with us today as well. Pamela Ellen Pearson, Ted and Deborah Rayner, Rebecca Sarah Reese, Ernesto Ruiz and James Steve McHenry, no relation, Nancy, Robert Shaw, Catherine Sullivan, Douglas and Patty Waterfall, Brett Weiss, and Suzanne Zimmerman. I especially want to welcome the newest members of the UC Santa Cruz Legacy Circle and members who are joining us for the first time. Of note, the 24 newest members, 23 are alumni. This is the first year that has happened. And we knew that after the 50th anniversary celebration in 2015, our future would depend on our alumni. Fiscal year 2021 has just proved it. I'd like to take this opportunity to applaud all of you. And finally, our newest member, Daniel Smith, is an alumnus from Stevenson College, and he majored in politics in 2004. He's living in Australia and is planning to view this event, the recording of this event. And now I'd like to introduce Professor Jody Green. She is the Associate Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning, the founding director of our Center for Innovations in Teaching and Learning, a professor of literature, feminist studies, and history of consciousness. In addition to her 23 years of teaching experience at UC Santa Cruz, Jody is a Rhodes and Marshall Scholar. Jody?
Okay, don't put mine in the market.
Thank you, Virginia, and hi everyone. It's really great to see you and
back down a little bit.
To have you join us today. It's, as we were saying right before we got started, this is the first day back to in-person classes since March of 2020. And so it's a very exciting and also a very busy time for everyone on the campus. But I'm really delighted to take a moment to join you today. And it is just my privilege and my joy to introduce to you Garima Desai, UC Santa Cruz's first Rhodes Scholar. You know, for me, it is utterly fitting that Garima would be our first Rhodes Scholar. She is a daughter of immigrants who graduated summa cum laude with majors in economics and environmental studies. She epitomizes UC Santa Cruz's standing as one of the country's top institutions for ensuring social mobility. When she was here, her work at the intersections of climate change, urban development, and sustainability brought together the very best of Santa Cruz's longstanding strengths: field-changing interdisciplinary research, engaged and worldly scholarship, and a commitment to social and environmental justice. Garima describes how as a young person, she was what she calls an outspoken oddball, determined to be an activist on behalf of animal welfare, human hunger, and planetary sustainability. At UC Santa Cruz, she realized that she could increase her impact as an environmental activist by taking a rigorous quantitative approach to solving the planet's many unsolved problems. At Oxford, Garima wants to continue focusing her environmental justice work on transportation and the economics of sustainable city planning. As she put it in her roads application, she intends to help create, quote, the holistic, large-scale change needed to solve the world's most pressing climate issues. Just this year, UC Santa Cruz was ranked number 3 in the nation for students focused on making an impact in the world. I hope you'll join me in recognizing Garima as a shining example of those world-changing ambitions.
She's introducing Santa Cruz's first road scholar.
Congratulations, Garima. You've made UCSC very proud.
Thank you, Dr. Green, for such a lovely introduction. Hi, everyone, I'm Garima. And thank you all for inviting me into your space and allowing me to share some of my thoughts. When I started UC Santa Cruz in 2016, I was the most excited person ever to come to this campus. I had all these big dreams of, sorry, I was putting in gallery view. I had all these big dreams of mastering my majors and doing research and expanding myself. But I never thought that shortly after graduating, I would be here at Oxford University in England, speaking with you all from back home. And I never thought I would win the Rhodes Scholarship, mostly because I didn't even know what the Rhodes Scholarship was until February 2020, which was roughly half a year before the application was due. When Professor Mark Massoud met me for the first time and told me to apply, I remember he said, I was a finalist for Rhodes, but I would not want to apply in the same year that you're applying. So I dove right in. I started watching all the Rhodes YouTube videos, discovering present and past Rhodes scholars. I wrote my 1,000-word personal statement after lots of individual video journaling. I gathered 6 letters of recommendation from those who know me best. I applied for UCSC's endorsement, and then I became a finalist. And that's when the real work began. I was notified of my finalist status 2 weeks before the actual interview, known as the hardest interview ever. I remember reading the email, and one of the first things I said to my family was, I have 2 weeks to learn everything in the entire world. I immediately reached out to my mentor, who set up practice interviews with other Rhodes finalists and Rhodes scholars like Professor Green in the UCSC community. I failed every single practice interview. Everyone told me that I need to create a list or a narrative that I want to present to the real panel. They told me, write down 10 things that no matter what they ask, you must get across. And I remember being so torn after the practices, just feeling like I'm not being myself if I'm bringing up random facts about me when the question is a simple yes or no answer. So I sat down and I tried and tried again to create a list. And I had a long Google Doc of gibberish and not really interesting things about me. But as soon as I virtually walked into the Rhodes Scholarship interview, I left everything at the door. I didn't even think about my list or my narrative or whatever agenda. I just went into the interview, answered their questions honestly, and really I just tried my best. And I still remember the moment when they announced my name. It makes me smile just thinking about it. I remember I looked down at my home slipper rather than at the Zoom screen because my heart was just pounding out of my chest. And now I'm here, jet lagged, confused, tired, slightly hungry. But I'm with a group of the most brilliant minds from around the world, and I'm filled with so much gratitude to be sitting here in Oxford. And as I have a short time, I have 3 major takeaways that I want to share with you. First, I'm not the only one. I'm grateful it was me. I know why it was me, but it easily could have been someone else. What I mean is there are many other future Rhodes scholars at UCSC. Banana Slugs are passionate. They love what they do and they make their dreams a reality. And that's what it takes to be a Rhodes Scholar. Second, UCSC is doing many things right. UCSC has a way of challenging students and allowing space for engaged and outwardly ambitious individuals like me, but also space for quiet and shy dreamers. UCSC does not suffocate and pressure their students and restrict them, but rather supports them as they are. And I think that's one of the keys to my success. And third, we need professors like my mentor, Dr. Adam Millard Ball. He's the sole reason I am where I am today and has provided me with invaluable mentorship and instruction. And I actually told him about today's event and I asked if he could share a piece of his wisdom. And he told me that a professor needs to be approachable, so it's easier for the student to take the initiative to engage. But it's not enough just to see the spark of a student. From there, a professor needs to understand the student's own goals for themselves and serve as both a coach and a cheerleader. A coach providing guidance, but a cheerleader providing encouragement along the way. So I'm not the only one. UCSC is doing many things right, and professors serve as the catalyst for success. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for either Garma or Professor Green? I'm scanning the screen here just to see.
I see Cecilia's hand.
Okay. Cecilia?
So Garima, so you left that list that you had, so you were just yourself during the interview, huh, with the Rhodes Scholarship Committee. How was that like? Were you nervous, or did you just like, you know, just basically just let yourself be?
Yeah, thank you for that question, because I think it's so true. I think letting go of that list and just making that, no one told me to make that decision. If in fact I was given the opposite advice, but I think making that decision for myself and just saying, I don't need this, and I am who I am. If I'm fitting for this scholarship, next year I'll be in England. And if I'm not, then I'll be doing something else that's great. I think that it actually relieved a lot of the pressure and stress. And I just walked in there, answered questions, and that was it. So
Yay! Congratulations.
thank you so much.
Thank you. So now I'm going to introduce Skip and Nancy Fletcher. Last fall, I began working with Leroy, Skip, and Nancy Fletcher. Skip and Nancy are the son-in-law and daughter of Dean and Jane McHenry. They are planning to enhance the Dean and Jane McHenry Leadership Fund. And they will tell you more about that in a minute. To give you a little more background, Skip and Nancy met at Stanford University. Nancy received her bachelor's degree in political science, the same as her father, and joined the Peace Corps after graduation. She served in Thailand, and Skip and Nancy were married in 1966. Dr. Fletcher is a Regents Professor Emeritus and Thomas A. Dietz Professor Emeritus of Mechanical Engineering at Texas A&M University. He received his BS in Mechanical Engineering from Texas A&M University, his MS in Engineers from Stanford University, and his PhD from Arizona State University. He has held distinguished visiting professor appointments at institutions in Germany, Japan, Egypt, the UAE, and Hong Kong. And subsequent to his university positions, he served as Director of Aerospace Aeronautics at NASA Ames Research Center in Northern California, and concurrently served as captain in the US Air Force. I can read another paragraph about his service and leadership on professional organizations, accreditation teams, and awards and honors. However, he asked me to keep his introduction brief. I'll end by stating that Dr. Fletcher is currently a member of the ASME Committee on Honors, as well as a struggling avocado farmer in San Diego's North County. Skip. Okay, you're on mute, Skip and Nancy. So I can't hear you. There you go. I'm Skip, and there you, okay, I can see you, but we're having trouble hearing you.
Louder?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
CSC was a dream come true for my father, Dean McHenry, who was the first chancellor of this university. Much to the frustration of many of those who worked with him, my dad offered an opinion on virtually every decision made on this campus. From the emphasis of the curriculum to the location of pathways from building to building. Dad's primary interest was in undergraduate education, but he was also interested in opportunities for students after they graduate. To this end, my mother's and father's will established a leadership fund at UCSC to, and I'm quoting from their will, to identify and support well-rounded students like Dharma, who demonstrate unusual capacity for leadership. Dad wanted to encourage students to take advantage of opportunities such as the Rhodes, Churchill, Marshall, Fulbright, and many other scholarships and fellowships. My husband and I are adding to the leadership fund and hoping to encourage more students to apply for these opportunities. Dharma, my dad would be so proud of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Chancellor Cindy LaRive. As the 11th Chancellor of the University of California, Cindy leads an institution known throughout the world for its interdisciplinary approach to research for the public good and for its commitment to social and environmental justice. An accomplished bioanalytical chemist, Cindy came to UC Santa Cruz from UC Riverside, where she was provost and executive vice chancellor. As provost, she was responsible for the academic enterprise, managing large-scale initiatives, as well as the daily operations of the Riverside campus. Over her career at UCR, she served in a variety of other leadership roles, including vice provost for undergraduate education, divisional dean of physical sciences and mathematics, and interim dean of the College of Natural and Agricultural Sciences. Cindy?
Have to find the unmute button. Thank you so much, Virginia. It's such a great pleasure to be with all of you today. You know, the beginning of every academic year is exciting. Students are at the start or in the midst of the seminal experience of their lives, and it's so special to be part of that. But this year, the energy of the campus is even more intense than usual, as our campus community has found its way home after 18 months of pandemic limbo. And I am just thrilled that we are back in person. I wanted to start with a thank you to each of you for your generosity. Bequest intentions, which many of you have committed to or are considering, are an important part of our philanthropy portfolio. Bequests and planned gifts support just about everything we do: scholarships, research, faculty, and programs. And some of you choose to give unrestricted gifts, which the campus uses for regular or for critical needs and one-time opportunities, or to respond to crises like we did last year with the fire that came within 1.5 miles of our campus. Regardless of where you direct your gift, it's greatly appreciated. I wanted to highlight just a couple things and then give you an update about our fall plans. One is I wanted to say to Skip and Nancy how excited I am to see you on my Zoom screen and to hear from you today. I have studied a little bit Dean McHenry and the wonderful visionary founder of our campus he was. And I'm just so grateful now, Nancy, to meet you and for your support of the Leadership Fund. As we see with Garima, you know, the potential of our students is so great. And to be able to help cultivate the future leaders that our world so needs, and to help students take advantage of opportunities like Marshall and Goldwater and Rhodes scholarships, it is really something that the campus can do even better at. I also wanted to give a shout out to alumnus Kathy Sullivan, who's here on the call. You know, Kathy is distinguished in so many ways. She's in the Guinness Book of World Records. Jim and I watch Jeopardy every night. Maybe some of you do too. And one night there was a Jeopardy question about Kathy Sullivan, but her most recent accomplishment and accolade is that she has been named to something called PCAST, which is the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. And this is a place where Kathy's unique experiences in space and at the deepest parts of the ocean, and her scientific background and advocacy for the environment and the climate can have a real impact for our country. And Kathy, we're so proud of you and so grateful for your contributions. So I thought you might be interested to know about our fall plans. Today is the start of classes. And as I mentioned, it is so wonderful to be back in person. The University of California policy mandates COVID vaccination for all students and employees, and that's the foundation of our return to campus. As of today, 99% of students living on campus this fall have complied with that vaccination policy, and 91% of our total student population has. Some of our students are accessing the campus remotely yet this year, and I think that probably is embedded in that 91%. Our faculty and staff compliance rate is also very strong, also at 91%. And so having an overwhelmingly vaccinated campus is vital to the well-being of our community. And I'm so grateful for those in the community who have complied with the policy, showing consideration for their fellow banana slugs. Regular asymptomatic COVID testing will be required of students and employees who are unvaccinated but have approved exceptions. There are exceptions that can be approved for medical and for religious purposes. Since opening our COVID diagnostic lab in spring 2020, we have processed nearly 100,000 tests for our students and employees so far, and we've done about another 40,000 and counting for our community partners. Our UC Santa Cruz Culligan Clinical Diagnostic Lab is one of the best things that came out of this pandemic for UC Santa Cruz. It's been a powerful resource for our campus and a key tool in supporting wider public health efforts. Having the lab will benefit the greater community moving forward. And just this last weekend, we were so pleased to be honored with the 2021 Phil Rather Award for Leadership in Healthcare from the Community Health Trust of Pajaro Valley for launching our lab in the early days of the pandemic, in part to help the most vulnerable residents of Santa Cruz County. I could not be more proud. This fall, the majority of our classes, 68%, will be in person. We made this decision about fall instruction in April when there was a lot unknown about what the COVID status would be. We decided to have classes with more than 150 students, may be remote only. And so those classes make up the bulk of our remote offerings. It also means that in a lecture hall that accommodates normally 300 or 400 students, students can be dispersed throughout the lecture hall and not have to come in close contact with another student. Our on-campus student housing will serve about 9,300 students, and we house more than 50% of our students on campus. That's one of the highest percentages in the UC system. Nevertheless, we all understand the housing crisis that faces our region, and we're working to address this issue long-term. We're moving dirt right now on a project that will add nearly 200 beds at Kresge College, one of our 10 residential colleges, and we're exploring options that could add 100 more beds in Kresge. The UC Regents approved our Student Housing West project, which will allow us to build 3,000 or so additional on-campus beds for existing students. Unfortunately, opponents continue to challenge the project in court, stalling its construction, but I'm optimistic we'll ultimately be able to move forward with this important project so desperately needed by our students and in our community. And if we've learned anything over the course of the pandemic, it is that this virus is unpredictable. So we're taking nothing for granted. We will likely have some breakthrough cases, but our goal is to minimize these and to be attentive and adaptable. The health of our community will guide our decision-making. So far, our conservative approach to operations has guided us well, and we think that will be true also in the coming months. And I'm so optimistic about this academic year. We have the opportunity to take the best of what we learned over the past year and a half of remote learning and apply that to in-person instruction. So we essentially have 2 new classes, half of our entire undergraduate student body on the campus for the first time with their fresh eyes and their own unique perspectives. And that's incredibly exciting. So I mentioned the creation of our diagnostic lab as one of the positives to come out of the pandemic. But I would say that the changes it's brought to instruction have also been a real positive. And Jody Green, who you heard from earlier as the director of our Center for Innovations in Teaching and Learning, has been a big part of all of that. So it wasn't ideal that we didn't have students in person, but they experienced remote instruction in very different ways. Not all students have easy access to Wi-Fi or even a quiet place to study. And studies across the country have shown that the pandemic has disproportionately affected Latinx and other minority communities. What COVID did, though, is serve as an accelerant to a host of positive changes in both learning and instruction. And among these, we're now seeing both on our campus and across the broader higher ed landscape, much better leveraging of technology in instruction. And that's a huge positive. Remote instruction required faculty to focus on their teaching approaches in new ways. In particular, course design, learning outcomes, and how to assess learning were really under scrutiny by each faculty member. When we switched to remote instruction, essentially every single course on campus had to be redesigned. And that's a huge undertaking. In the spring of 2020, we only had a week to get ready for remote instruction. So it wasn't possible to affect significant course redesign at that time. We were grateful just to have students continuing in their learning. But we've spent the summer of 2020 and much of the last year supporting instructors to redesign their courses, knowing that we would likely be remote for at least all of last year. And about 300 instructors went through a course to learn how to redesign, their courses for online or remote delivery. And others attended workshops or had individual consultations. In all, over 2,000 courses were redesigned. Well, I can't say enough good things about Jody Green and our Center for Innovations in Teaching and Learning. They led the charge on educating our educators on the latest research and trends in teaching. It has really paid off, and it will continue to pay big dividends for our campus. Three of our staff members were recently honored by the Online Learning Consortium Award for creating an online instructional tutorial after the campus suspended in-person teaching in 2020. The program they created in a month's time, integrated course design for remote instruction, has been used by more than 300 UC Santa Cruz instructors to create hundreds of online and remote courses. Another positive was that remote learning really pushed our faculty to learn more about their students' lives. They had to know what was going on with the students to teach them well, and being more conversant in student realities was another positive. Our faculty also adopted teaching practices that we have been trying to implement as a campus for a while, practices that are informed by deep research. Fewer final exams, more regular check-ins for learning, for example, and making lectures and slides available to students after classes are taught. In short, our faculty have really begun to take up universal design and apply it in a consistent way. And we continue to innovate. Over the summer, our Information Technologies Services, ITS, installed lecture capture technology in all of our general assignment classrooms. This technology can automatically record lectures so that a faculty can make them available to students after the class. So if a student misses a lecture because they're ill or have a problem with childcare or a conflict, like our student athletes who are on travel for competition, they don't have to miss out on the lecture or try to access someone else's notes. It can be really helpful with a challenging course like calculus, which was always hard for me, or chemistry or physics, because students can re-watch the problem-solving process in the lecture over and over again until they gain a better understanding. So driven by the desire to help our students learn during the pandemic, more of our instructors engaged in help-seeking behaviors. We've long been building and offering our instructors a robust support system, summer programs, classes on teaching practices, syllabus templates, workshops, digital tools, you name it. But it wasn't until remote instruction arrived that they came flooding in for help. And now they continue to come to the Center for Innovations in Teaching and Learning for support. We have a Keep Teaching website that's been a big success, and it's helped us to promote equity and excellence of teaching during this period of remote instruction. Remote instruction also got our students to be more intentional about their learning. We have a paired Keep Learning website with our Keep Teaching one, and this gives students easy access to resources that can help them when we're learning away from campus, and now will continue to help them as they come into the post-pandemic teaching and learning environment. Finally, I'd like to talk a little bit about campus schools of a different sort, our fundraising priorities as we return to campus and primarily in-person instruction. If you were asked me, what are the things that keep me up at night, I'd put them in 3 baskets, and each one is a question. First, how can we ensure that students are able to attend and fully experience UC Santa Cruz, taking advantage of all that our campus has to offer? Second, do we have the spaces and the environments needed so that our students can succeed? That's classroom and learning spaces. And on our campus, housing is another big piece of the puzzle. And third, how do we recruit and retain the best faculty and staff we possibly can to make sure our students are successful and that they get the best education that we can possibly offer and we know they deserve? So these are the 3 I would consider as campus fundraising priorities. We have significant outstanding capital needs on campus. Our Kresge renovation and reimagination is well underway, which is great to see, but there is more work to do. We still have needs at our science and engineering library, and we always need to keep our eyes on the horizon for what we might need next. Obtaining and keeping quality faculty is also of critical importance. How do we do that? Well, endowed professorships is one way. They continue to recognize the contributions of senior level faculty and provide funds that allow them to push the frontiers of their scholarship. They propel research, they help pay student workers or graduate students, and create opportunities for collaboration with scholars from around the world. And we support our faculty through professional development. The efforts of our Center for Innovations in Teaching and Learning team I just spoke about is a great example of this. Faculty need to know they're valued, of course, but they also need to see tangible support. And finally, supporting our students. And this can be done in many different ways. Fellowships for graduate students, scholarships for undergraduate students, of course, but also funding for experiential learning experiences like research and internships. Our entire university is re-examining and recommitting to what it means to be a research intensive university, an AAU member, also dedicated to undergraduate student success. We heard earlier that was Dean McHenry's vision for the campus, and it's still so important to us today. We need to be pulling all the levers we can to make sure that our students succeed and that they have full access to all the opportunities that UC Santa Cruz can provide. And we'll plan to pay particular attention to student success in the coming years. And having all of you on board would make that a real difference for our university and for our students. So I'm happy to take your questions if anybody has a question. And I can't see all of the screens at the same time, so I would appreciate help if anybody sees a hand raised.
People can also use the chat function.
Oh, good idea.
I'm not seeing any
James,
hands.
James Myers has a question. Go ahead, James.
Let me get unmuted here. Hi. I'm curious how the university professors and students manage to make up for labs, missed labs like chemistry and so on, physics, hard science labs, and there might be others, and even humanities where you depend on an in-person, hands-on approach. What did they do about labs? I'm having a hard time imagining.
Yeah, thank you. There is not a simple answer to that question. I'd also add in the arts, which we know are very
yes, of course.
on in many ways. And I'm a chemist, and so lab was always the thing I loved to teach the most. But we've managed it in several ways. In some of the labs, like in chemistry, we had them be mostly remote, and students were given data to work up. That works okay for some of the lower division labs in an emergency, right? It's not ideal, but we also made spots available in the summer for some labs, ran this summer. And upper division labs, we had most of our students deferred, and they'll be taking them now.
I see.
It's a mixed bag. It was those kinds of hands-on experiences didn't translate as well to remote and online instruction. And so we did the best we could to help support students in that time. I will say too, that we did have students continuing to do research on our campus. We had some classes in person, even though we were mostly remote last year. Those were some of them classes that were some capstone labs, but also field labs. So, we have a great field biology and field environmental science courses here at UC Santa Cruz. And those could be done outside and were mostly safe in small numbers. So some of those experiences continued. But thanks for your question.
Thank you.
Chancellor, I don't see any other questions at this time. So thank you. I'm going to continue with the program. Nikki, if you can bring the slides back. Yes. At this point, I'd like to take a moment to remember the members that we have lost. Although each of them are special, 3 of these individuals played significant roles in the development of UC Santa Cruz. Hal Hyde was the founding chancellor for business services. He was involved in bringing the University of California to Santa Cruz, and he remained a loyal friend and supporter throughout his life. Jean Langenheim, Professor Emerita of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology, was an eminent plant ecologist and leading authority on amber and plant resins. Jean was the first campus's female faculty member in the natural sciences and the first woman to be promoted to full professor. She held many leadership positions throughout her career. And finally, Yolanda Dibdahl served on the UC Santa Cruz Foundation Board of Trustees from 1997 through 2007. And 3 of Yolanda's 4 children attended UC Santa Cruz. Their collective bequests benefited numerous departments, programs, and scholarships. The next slide. Plan giving activity. Let's see, yes. Despite the pandemic and other challenges that were prevalent in fiscal year 21, we saw an increase in planned giving activity. I won't read all the numbers, but I do want you to know that we experienced some new gifts and also received gifts from individuals for whom we didn't know that the university was in their estate plans. So again, it was really robust activity and mainly from alumni, and that is a turning point for us. The next slide. So fundraising priorities in the year ahead. As the Chancellor mentioned, our fundraising priorities will include a student success initiative and also the Hellman Fellows Matching Gift Program. The Student Success Initiative has 3 pillars: reducing financial burden, navigating college, and beyond the classroom. You will be hearing more about this initiative in the year ahead. The Hellman Foundation will match all new commitments of $250,000 or more to early career faculty. This will enable early career faculty to accelerate their work and leverage funds to access other grant funding that will further their work. In addition, Giving Day, the university's wildly successful 24-hour online crowdfunding contest, returns on November 3rd with a strong emphasis on programs designed to support students in these challenging times. This year, at least 130 projects will seek funding. I hope that all of you will participate and encourage your friends, family, and associates to do the same. So if you or someone you know are interested in these initiatives, please let me know. The next slide. Because you are our best advocates, I'd like to share with you our newly revised Guide to Plan Giving brochure. It explains legacy planning options in detail and contains new student and donor profiles. It accompanies our will and trust planner that is available for your friends, family, or acquaintances who are just beginning their estate planning. I'd like to thank our speakers, Chancellor Skip and Nancy Fletcher, Professor Jody Green, and Rhodes Scholar Garma Desai. I also want to thank our events staff for providing technical support and my team of Melody Corcus and Cecilia Reyes. If conditions are conducive, we will attempt to host an in-person spring event, so please stay tuned. Again, and on behalf of UC Santa Cruz, I thank you for your past, present, and future support. Your gifts enable the university to provide the highest quality education that our students expect and deserve. And thank you for joining us. This concludes our event. However, my team and I will stay on for a Zoom chance to chat with you all further. Any questions or comments?
Hi, Virginia. It's Aviva Garrett.
Hi.
Hi. I was wondering, we had heard that Kresge College was going to be torn down completely and rebuilt from scratch. Do you have any information that you could provide about what's being done at Kresge?
I do not, but I'm hoping one of my colleagues on the call can help answer that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not going to be able to give you a full comprehensive answer, but no, all of Kresge is not being torn down, but the restaurant area and the place that used to be the store and the big meeting area, that has been raised, and it's going to be replaced by a very large facility that has room for a 600-person classroom and other class spaces and meeting spaces. So it'll actually provide Kresge with a much better meeting hub. And a couple of the dorms have gone down, but the rest of them are being renovated.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. Glenna, I see you have your hand raised.
Yes, I just want to say thank you for this event. And it's wonderful to have a chance to hear from the Chancellor. I have had so many questions. I have a grandson at UC Davis, and I don't know how parallel it is, but as someone who's a retired college professor, I have been so interested in hearing the nitty-gritty detail that the Chancellor provided, and she's so impressive. And I just was so interested in hearing the amount of thought and care and attention to detail that seems to have gone into trying to lighten the load of the pandemic as much as possible. So thank her, thank everybody that's been involved.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Okay.
Hi, Virginia.
Hi, Rusty.
This is Rusty. I just like to say that I thought Garima was the star of this show, and I think UCSC can be really proud of the students we're producing.
Which is why I thought it'd be neat to introduce her to you. I was really impressed when I met her, and we invited her to speak to the Foundation Board of Trustees in June. And I just thought you all would appreciate also meeting her. She's really wonderful, and she was really jet lagged, so she did have to leave.
Yeah, no, she did a good job.
Yeah, and hopefully she'll give us regular updates throughout her experience there. Hi, Bruce. Hi, Jim. Hi, Marion Langdon and Donna Blakemore. Let's see. Hi, Paul Markowitz. I'm glad you could join us today. And Liz Alpert, Leslie Svensson, Susie Bach, Trudy. Nice to almost see you. I see that you're on the call. You, the people that can turn their cameras on if they'd like. There you go. Hi, Lauren. I also thought you might, oh, hi, Susie. Enjoy meeting Dean McHenry, one of his two daughters. Isn't that neat? I thought, how lucky are we? So you should also know that people joined us from Washington, D.C., Jim Myers and Joe Levesque. I thought we were going to have a couple from New Orleans, but I don't see them. So some people who don't live in the area were able to participate today. From Southern California. Oh, and one of our newest members is just joining us now. She works at the radio station. Let's see. Tiffany, she's connecting. Tiffany, welcome. We're at the end of the program, but there is a recording. You're welcome to say hi to all of us if you'd like to turn your camera on. Did Jim asked a question. Did Cindy mention how big the student body is this year? I don't think she did. Let me see if one of my other colleagues can help me with that. I will have to get back to you, Jim, on that question. Okay. So we're getting some comments in the chat room. If anyone wants to look there. I know Tiffany was working on at the radio station and was going to try and pause and join us. And her bequest.
Oh, hi. Hi, I didn't realize I had it on mute. Yes. I currently do I've been doing since I was a student a radio show, so it just ended at noon, and so I'm happy to join at the last second.
Yes, we're happy you could join us as well. If we may share that you're designating your bequest to the radio station.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not a one-time thing. I have supported this station for all the years that I have been here, which is a whopping 26 years.
Thank you for that. Trudy, how was the Dickens universe this year? You're on mute.
Okay, here we go. It was absolutely wonderful. I was dreading sitting in front of my screen, you know, for about 10 hours a day. And I didn't mind it at all. I couldn't get enough of it. They did a wonderful job of putting together a program, and I really enjoyed the chat rooms. I've never used that particular thing before. Right now, I've got some work to do for the day. Some fundraising letters to keep signing and a couple of things to write for the Dickens round. So, but yeah, it was absolutely wonderful. We're hoping that in 2022, we'll be able to be on campus, but if we're not, the online program was amazing.
I'm pleased to hear that. And yes, we are hoping for 2022 to be in person for all of our events.
You know, one of the advantages too of being online was that people who in the past have not been able to attend,
right,
because of the, were able to attend. So we had some really interesting newcomers. And I think that in the future, we're going to try to have not only the in-person, but a virtual component.
Yes, we found that beneficial for us as well. As I mentioned, we have a couple joining us from Washington, D.C. and Ohio and other places that would normally not be able to join us in person. So yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jim. You have any questions? I'm surprised you didn't have any questions today. Jim Duncan. You're on mute too.
There we go. No, I don't have any questions. I'm taking it all in with great interest as usual.
Yeah. Okay.
A big
Great.
supporter.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Let's see, Florence, do you have any questions? Oh, good. So I'm looking at, let's see, there was a question about how many students. One of my colleagues put a link in the chat. So UC Santa Cruz is welcoming almost 6,100 new students for the fall 2021 quarter. 4,150 are freshmen and 1,890 are transfer students. And about 18,600 students will attend the university this academic year, with 9,300 living on campus. Does that answer your questions? Yeah. Well, you will all be receiving a survey. We count on your comments and remarks to see how we can improve this event. We are really hopeful that we could offer some kind of an in-person event in the spring, but if not, hopefully in 2022, we will return with an in-person event and maybe even a virtual component as well. It's great to see you. I miss seeing all of you in person, but at least we can do this on Zoom. Bye, Rusty. And Bronwyn and Cecilia, bye-bye, everyone. Thank you all again for joining us today. And Tiffany, this was recorded, so you'll be able to see it at a later date.
Okay, how do I do that?
You'll get a link in a follow-up email.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks for trying to be here.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Nice to meet you all.
Okay. I'm going to be the last one to leave.
I'll stay with you.
Okay. Okay, and Nikki, and yeah, great. Bye, Florence. Bye, Paul. Bye, Liz. Okay. Thank you, Nikki, for the instructions.
Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Great event.
Yeah, thank you.